You didn't choose to be born. You didn't decide to breathe your first breath or beat your first heartbeat. Before language, before thought, before desire were already happening. Cells dividing, lungs inflating, blood flowing. There was no decision. There was no you to decide anything. But then the story begins. A name, a face, a voice calling you by something that becomes you. And from that moment on, you're taught to control, to hold it together, to be something, someone, to make something of yourself as if you had ever been in control to begin with. They tell you, think positive, set goals, work hard, choose happiness, be better. But underneath all this noise, there's a truth no one wants to say out loud. You were thrown into this, not asked, not prepared, just here. And now the world demands rent for your existence. You need money, purpose, health, time, energy. You have to survive, produce, explain your worth. Every day becomes a negotiation with chaos. A struggle not just to live, but to justify your living. And deep down, you know how this ends. No matter how much you build, save, optimize, or plan, it ends. The body breaks, the light fades, and what you called me dissolves like mist in sun. No final applause, no neat credits, just nothing. So what do we do with this knowledge? We try to outrun it. We search for cures, hacks, philosophies, techniques, anything that promises power over the chaos. Anything that whispers, you're in control. But control is the illusion we buy to survive the truth. And the truth is this. Between birth and death, there exists something worse than dying. Pain. Not just the pain of illness, of injury, of the body's slow decline, but the internal kind. The invisible wound that never closes. The ache of disappointing people who needed you. The weight of being not enough. The exhaustion of carrying roles you never asked for. And there's something even more cruel. You feel pain that isn't even yours, because you can imagine it, because you can feel it. The suffering of others lives in you, like it was carved into your bones. Someone cries across the world, and somehow your chest tightens. Someone breaks, and your own hands tremble. And yet, nothing happened to you. Not directly. But everything happened in you. So you ask, what do I do with all this? What do I do with the chaos, the fear, the grief, the endless trembling? You seek guidance, books, teachers, saints, systems. You look for the one path that will end the ache. You ask the same desperate question that millions have asked. How do I stop being this mess inside? But here lies the trap. That very question is the mess. The desire to stop trembling is the trembling. The urge to fix yourself is the proof that you believe you're broken. The part of you that says, I must be different, is the same voice that cannot accept what is. You want to kill the part of you that hurts, but that part is you. And what you fight, you feed. So ask yourself honestly, who would you be without the war inside? Most can't answer that, because they don't know, because they've built an identity around resisting what they feel. And this is the first illusion that must fall. There is no peace to be found in fighting yourself. No enlightenment waiting on the other side of self-rejection. What if the problem isn't the chaos? What if the problem is believing you need to escape it? Let that question sit in you. The next part begins, where resistance ends. The idea that you are a fixed self, a captain at the wheel of your mind, is one of the oldest, most persistent illusions. And it's also the most damaging. We speak of ourselves as if we're stable, like there's a clear eye that decides, thinks, feels, and acts. But have you ever stopped to ask, where exactly is this eye? Point to it. Is it your thoughts? Those flicker and change. Is it your feelings? Those contradict each other. Is it your body? That's a temporary structure in constant decay. So what, then, is the self you're trying to improve, perfect, fix, or save? The truth is disturbing. The self is a story, a useful fiction, a set of patterns pretending to be a person. And yet, this illusion of a fixed self drives nearly everything we suffer. We feel ashamed because we think I should be better than this. We feel afraid because I don't know if I can handle it. We feel regret because I shouldn't have done that. But all of these emotions rest on the same hidden premise, that there's a permanent self behind the scenes, calling the shots. A consistent agent with total control. There isn't. Watch your mind for even a minute, and you'll see. Thoughts just appear. Emotions rise without permission. Impulses strike without warning. There's no one sitting at a desk, authoring your experience. It's just happening. What you call I is more like a narrator trying to explain the movie after it's already played. And yet, we carry the burden of being this mythical author. We beat ourselves up for failing at being what never existed in the first place. A controlled, coherent, stable version of us. This is why self-improvement so often feels like self-hatred in disguise. You're chasing an ideal version of yourself that doesn't exist and never did. And when you realize that something collapses, not in despair, in relief, you don't need to fix what was never broken. You don't need to become someone else, because there is no one there to begin with. This is what the mystics meant when they spoke of no self. Not that you don't exist at all, but that you don't exist the way you think you do. There is awareness, there is experience, but the one trying to control it, that's just another thought. And when you see that, really see it, not as an idea, but as a lived reality, something changes. The war quiets. Not because you won, but because there's no one left to fight. So here's the real question. If you are not the controller, what are you? When all illusions fall, what remains is not clarity, it's silence. Not the peaceful, meditative silence sold in wellness apps, but a raw, echoing void. A silence without narrative, without reward, without meaning. The silence that comes when every answer fails, and every effort to fix, grow, or heal collapses under its own weight. This is where most people turn back, because what's left is unbearable. The absence of a savior. No divine guarantee, no cosmic plan, no inner hero waiting to rise. Just this breathing, beating, existing, without purpose, without plot. But stay in that silence long enough, and something shifts. Not a miracle, not a revelation. Something simpler, stranger, harder to define. A release. Not because you found a solution, but because the need for a solution disappears. You stop waiting to become, you stop rehearsing your transformation. You stop bargaining with life, with God, with your past, with yourself. And in that stopping, something opens. Not peace, not joy, but space. Space to feel without judgment, to hurt without meaning, to exist without identity. You don't become enlightened. You become simple, a presence. No longer trying to win, no longer trying to heal, no longer trying to be anything other than what this moment demands, if it demands anything at all. And in this radical simplicity, the war dissolves. Not because the pain goes away, but because it's no longer personal. You still feel it, the grief, the fear, the sting of disappointment, but there's no story wrapped around it. No accusation, no shame, just sensation. The fire burns, but it no longer claims a victim. You start to see the world differently, not through the eyes of a self trying to survive, but through awareness itself. You see people not as threats or mirrors or enemies, but as echoes of the same mystery you are. The contradictions soften, the pressure lifts, the noise inside begins to fade. Not to make room for clarity, but to make room for reality. Reality without filter, without meaning, without control. And this is freedom. Not the freedom to do whatever you want, but the freedom from needing to want something else. You are no longer trying to escape the river, you are the river. And maybe for the first time, you are finally flowing. So here's the final question. If nothing needs to change, if no one needs to be saved, if there is no controller, what's left to resist? Answer that not with words, but by how you live the next moment.